Olo.
It's hello.
Oh.
Hope you're all doing well and had a great new year. I'm sure you're all incredibly excited about 2023 and you're ready to leave 2022 in the dust, which is exactly why I'm going to spend an entire video continuing to talk about 2022. More specifically, we're going to talk about the movies that came out this year. Now, I watched a lot of movies this year. 43 apparently. How have I managed that? So I'm going to go through all of them and rank them in a tier list. So just some ground rules before we begin. It should go without saying, but this list is only going to include films I've actually seen. I don't want to see comments like last time saying, oh, you forgot. No, I didn't. Shut up. I just didn't watch it. I've never forgotten anything in my whole life. Shut up. But if there is a specific film you're wanting me to cover, it's probably already here. We have a good mix of all the major big releases and a few smaller films that you might not have seen. Maybe you'll see something that piques your interest, I don't know. Also, for clarity's sake, there are some films from 2022 that I really wanted to see, but for some reason, because we live in the bloody dark ages, they've just not been released in cinemas in the UK yet. Such as... Anyway, we're going to be going in order of release and rating them from 1 to 5 stars. Everyone got that? Okay, good. Let's get to it. Number 1, Scream. I wasn't too sure what to expect with Scream when I initially went into it. For context's sake, I hadn't seen any of the other Scream films, but I was aware of the general idea. They're sort of slasher comedies about a killer wearing a ghost face mask and murdering the cast one by one, but with a whodunit angle, because you don't ever really know who the killer is. And you know what? Pretty good movie. It actually made me want to go back and watch the other 4 Scream movies. Because yes, despite the title, this is actually the 5th film in the series. They just called it Scream to be annoying, I guess.
Not quite a reboot, not quite a sequel, like the new Halloween, Saw, Terminator, Jurassic Park, Ghostbusters, fuck, even Star Wars. It always goes back to the original.
But anyway, I'm going to stick this one in 4 stars. A good time. And I'm now excited for Scream 6, which, Jesus Christ, is already coming out ridiculously soon. I respect the work ethic, I guess. Number 2, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. I'm not going to pretend to be a big fan of the Hotel Transylvania series. I mean, obviously I'm not the target audience. This seems to be a controversial opinion, but the only one that I found to be actually watchable was the third one. The summer vacation one. This new one was the worst one, and it seems like they knew it behind the scenes too. Neither Adam Sandler or Kevin James came back for this one. Fucking Paul Blart thought he was above this. Let that sink in. No wonder they dumped it on Amazon. Also, I don't know what the fuck was going on with the release date for this one, but this film was originally supposed to come out in October of 2021, you know, for Halloween, but then the release date rolled around and nothing. They just didn't release it. Didn't tell anyone. And then January rolls around and they just kind of dump it out unceremoniously. Which, after having seen it, makes sense. 1 star. Number 3, Moonfall. I have so little to say about this one. If you don't know, it's about a bunch of people trying to stop the moon from falling. It was directed by Roland Emmerich, who previously made films like 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, blah blah blah, that kind of thing, you know. And if you've seen them, this is kind of the exact same, just a bit more sciencey.
What would Elon do?
I will say that it gets really fucking weird towards the end. Spoilers, I guess, but I'm pretty sure they reveal that ancient humans used to live on the moon or something. But I'm not going to bother doing any research on it, so let's just assume I'm right, as always. Anyway, this film ended up doing so badly that it became one of the biggest box office bombs of all time, and I think that's funny. 1 star. Number 4, There's Been a Death on the Nile. So this was a sequel to the 2018 film Murder on the Orient Express, which I thought was decent, although the film ended with Poirot being told that there's been a death on the Nile.
I have to take him to Egypt straight away. There's been a murder, sir, right on the bloody Nile.
But in this film, he's in Egypt on holiday, and there happens to be a death on the Nile while he's on the Nile. So does that mean he's investigated 2 separate deaths on the Nile? Or was this guy just Raven Baxter's granddad? Anyway, I actually enjoyed this one a decent amount, more so than the first film. I mean, it's got everything you would want. Cannibals, state-of-the-art special effects, and enough champagne to fill the Nile. 3 stars. Number 5, Uncharted. Forgot this even came out this year, to be honest. It was fine, I guess. I like the games a lot, so there is some kind of enjoyment from going, hey, I remember that level, or hey, I know you. You look completely different. But beyond that, The weird casting choices have been talked about to death, so there's not much more I can add to that.
Don't ask. Don't f***ing ask.
The only other thing that really stuck with me was that flying a ship fully intact like this must surely be the least practical way to do it. Like, you just wouldn't. 2 stars. I hate to do it to a fellow Tom, but I have to speak from my heart. Number 6. Cyrano. I think I might be the only man in the world who actually went to see this film, or even cares about it. But you know what? I thought it was pretty good. Basically, it's a musical about this guy who likes this girl, but she likes this guy. But the big guy has absolutely zero riz.
May I smell your neck?
So the little guy is going to write letters to her, chirpsing her for him. Make sense? It's all pretty fun, and I quite like the songs. Maybe not Peter Dinklage's voice though.
I might lose everything if I lose the pain.
And unfortunately, despite me liking the songs, I can confirm there is not a single banger among them. I'm going to give it 3 stars. Number 7. The Batman. Yeah, now we're cooking. Now we're riddling. You already know this film is great. It genuinely nailed everything, from acting, to cinematography, to soundtrack. Even if, I swear, they only wrote like one piece of music that they just play constantly. Although I personally believe the biggest contribution this film has to society is the "Does he know" meme. My only real criticisms are, it's ridiculously long, and spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, but did they really need to introduce another Joker? I'm saying it now, I'm sick of that guy. I don't want any more Jokers. No more Joker for a while, please. But regardless, he's such a small part of it that I'll be fair and give it 5 stars. Number 8. Turning Red. I love a good Pixar film. And to be clear, I mean a good Pixar film. Which this one is. I mean, if you watch my second channel, you already know that I love Pixar and every single one of their games. I've never hated or got annoyed at any of their games ever.
Oh, fuck off!
But this Pixar film was a lovely story about growing up and going through puberty, which I've definitely done. And it also had a song so good that it managed to make its way onto my Spotify Wrapped. So, fair play. 4 stars. Number 9. X. What a fun film. If you aren't aware, X is a slasher movie about a group of people in the 1970s shooting a porn movie. They rent a guest house on a farm owned by 2 old creeps. But oh no, they didn't tell them they were filming porn there, and they don't like that. I know that sounds really basic, and it is, but genuinely this film is just incredibly well made and fun to watch. I wouldn't call myself a massive fan of horror films, mainly because I just don't find them scary, like, ever. But when a horror film is made well, I can still appreciate and enjoy those scary moments. It's just more that I find them funny, really. I just kind of see them the same way as action movies. 5 stars. And that's 2 slasher movies this year, starring Jenna Ortega from Wednesday. What's she up to? Number 10. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I know this film is great, you know this film is great, it's great. I'm a big fan of the directors. If you haven't seen their previous film, Swiss Army Man, you really should. I don't personally think Everything Everywhere All at Once is as good as the previous film, but, you know. And I feel like the longer it's been since I've seen it, the less fondly I think about it over time. And on top of that, I don't really have any desire to watch it again. I do think it's an incredibly well-made film though. And I would say that it should be seen by everyone at least once. I'm gonna have to go with 4 stars. If this was back when it came out, it probably would have gotten 5, but I have to be true to myself. Number 11. Morbius. I mean, what more can honestly be said? This film has already been picked apart a million times. And rightly so, because it's shit. But honestly, I have no unique opinion on this film that couldn't be found anywhere else. The only thing I will say is that it's an absolute tragedy that the big meme from this film was the Morbin time thing, which was never that funny to begin with, as opposed to the amazing Matt Smith have sex dance scene. Either that or Tyrese Gibson thinking Martin Scorsese loved it. I guarantee you now as well that if, and I mean if, we ever see the Morbius character again, he or someone around him will say the phrase Morbin time, and it will be incredibly embarrassing for everyone involved. 1 star. Number 12. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yep. So I thought the first film was pretty good for what it was. Not a masterpiece by any stretch, but it did exactly what it set out to do. This second one was the same, but more. Now Sonic has CGI mates with him. A yellow thing and Idris Elba.
Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot. Dot, dot, dot.
I will say that this one has probably a bit too much of the human character's storyline. Like, there's a solid 20-minute stretch in the middle of the film where the main characters don't actually turn up at all. And it's just people running around Hawaii, which they blatantly did just to give everyone a holiday. But yeah, if you enjoyed the first, you'll enjoy the second one. So, 3 stars. Personally though, when I originally watched the first one, I secretly hoped that Sonic's human friend was going to reveal that his nickname was Tails. That would have been the funniest thing ever. Number 13. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. Yet another movie that I completely forgot came out. Was it better than the last one? Honestly, I can't remember. Luckily, this film bombed, so they're probably going to stop making these now. It's just a shame that it ended on such a wet fart. 2 stars. Number 14. The Northman. Basically Hamlet, but with Vikings. A really cool movie. Very brutal. With some questionable story moments. I will say that I can't recommend this movie to everyone, because it is just a bit too weird and dour for a lot of people. Like, when we went, everyone else in the cinema was clearly not into it. But I can't deny that it was incredibly well made. 4 stars. Number 15. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Honestly, just the premise of this film is entertaining enough. Nicolas Cage plays himself, and Pedro Pascal plays his #1 fan. And their relationship and dynamic is 100% the best part of this film.
The guy that owns this house, what's his name? Javi. Yeah, Javi. Is Javi going to want me to, suck his dick?
Unfortunately, that's only about 50% of it, because the film also tries to be an action movie at the same time. The action stuff is fine, I guess, but honestly, I would have much preferred that the whole film just be these 2 guys hanging out and having fun. 3 stars. Number 16. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Can't lie, I found myself ridiculously bored during this one. I think we were all a bit disappointed by the lack of multiverse madness. But beyond that, it just wasn't a very entertaining story. I think it was very well directed and shot for the most part, but as it was directed by Sam Raimi, that's not too surprising. I don't know, I guess I just think Doctor Strange works better as a supporting character in other people's movies, instead of having his own. So I'm not overly excited to find out wherever the fuck he's going with Charlize Theron. Also, I wish they had this Mr. Fantastic instead of this Mr. Fantastic. Hell, I would have taken Miles Teller. 2 stars. Speaking of Miles Teller, number 17. Top Gun Maverick. Pretty great. I'll be honest, I've never seen the original, and watching this only makes me want to watch the first one less, because this one works so well that it's fine as a self-contained story, and I feel like they're probably fairly similar plot-wise. You already know it's a great film, you probably saw it. Only other thing I want to mention is this weird cut.
Oh, shut up. Go on, get out of here.
I genuinely thought that was him hitting the ground. 5 stars, why not? Number 18. Jurassic World Dominion. It was better than the last one, I guess. I feel like this movie occupies the same space in my head as Fantastic Beasts 3. As in, I think the first one's alright, but nothing special. Hated the second, and hated the third slightly less. I can't even really remember what happened. Weren't there, like, bugs or some shit? I don't know. 2 stars. Number 19. Lightyear. Why did they make this? I understand that this movie is supposed to be the movie that Andy watched to make him want a Buzz Lightyear toy in the first place, but the problem with that is there's no way that this film would have come out in the 90s. It doesn't fit that era. Also, I just doubt that this would be an 8-year-old's favourite movie. To be fair to them, if this film did come out in the 90s, then having a gay couple in the film is progressive as fuck, so fair play to the Toy Story world, it's definitely better than ours. Also, I kind of feel like this film made the whole Buzz and Zurg thing from Toy Story 2 make absolutely no sense now.
Good bro, son. That's my boy.
But whatever, it was fine. 3 stars. Number 20. Elvis. Hell yeah, what a cool film. I won't pretend to be the biggest Elvis fan. I only really knew like a handful of his songs, and you know, some of his actions in real life are questionable.
Nuts.
But I am quite a fan of Baz Luhrmann. I love how insane his movies can feel.
What?
Like, I love the idea of remixing Elvis's old songs and modernising them, because that allows us as a modern audience to understand what it was like for people at the time to listen to his songs, if that makes sense. 4 stars.
Lord have mercy.
Number 21, Thor, Love and Thunder. Look, I'm usually a fan of Taika Waititi. Thor Ragnarok is probably my favourite MCU film, and What We Do in the Shadows is one of my favourite films of all time, but I don't know, I just don't really feel like anyone's heart was in this one. The one thing I would have expected from this film would be that it would be funny, and it just wasn't. Like, Black Panther 2 had better jokes, and that one's supposed to be serious. We'll get to that though, that's a while away. I don't know, I just don't want to think about this one anymore. 2 stars. Number 22, Nope. Woo! Jordan Peele is 3 for 3 when it comes to directing. I'd say I liked this one more than Us, but less than Get Out. It's firmly in the middle of his filmography. And you know what? This film almost actually came close to scaring me with those chimpanzee scenes. Not quite though. It can't be done. I don't really want to say more about it in case you want to watch it, but yeah. Go watch it. 4 stars. Number 23, Bullet Train. Just a nice little action movie. Very Guy Ritchie-esque. Nothing massively stands out about it, but if you want something to throw on when you've got 2 hours to spare, you'll probably have a good time. 3 stars. Number 24, Prey. Yeah, it was alright. I quite like how basic of a plot it effectively was. A predator comes down in the 1700s and a woman has to fight it. What more do you need? The only other Predator film I've seen was The Predator from a few years ago, and this one clears it easily. But I don't really feel like I'm ever going to watch it again, or even really think about it again. So, 3 stars. Number 25, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So this film is a dark comedy murder mystery about a group of 20-somethings trying to work out who among them killed Pete Davidson. I'll be honest, I really wanted to like this one more than I actually ended up doing. I loved the style of it, but I just didn't like or care about any of the characters, which, to be fair, was probably the point. But there was just no one for me to grab onto. I still think it was very funny at points, especially the ending. Holy shit, that ending is hilarious. But without spoiling it, I could imagine a lot of people being pissed off by it. Anyway, 3 stars. Number 26, Pinocchio. Oh god. I'm usually more forgiving than most people when it comes to Disney's live action remakes. Like, I fucking love the Aladdin one, unapologetically. But I've always hated the story of Pinocchio from the start, so it was an uphill battle for them. I don't know, it's just not a story I've ever connected to. I'm already a real boy. I've got one up on this kid. I will say though that I fuck with this guy a lot. I like him. 1 star.
It's the wishing star.
Number 27, Barbarian. Another really cool little horror thriller thingy. Without spoiling anything, the basic setup is that this woman and this man booked the same Airbnb and decided to share it. But oh, she's not sure if he's a creep or not.
I thought you wouldn't want any if you didn't see me open it, so I waited.
I'm good.
And then later on, she discovers that there are secret tunnels under the house that they're both renting.
Nope.
Ooh, mysterious. Honestly, this film seems to switch things up completely like every 10 minutes or so, which I respect. And I genuinely think the first 30 to 40 minutes of the film are perfect. But it did start to lose itself a little bit after that. To be as unspoilery as possible, it changes tone and perspective quite a lot, which kind of took me out of it. So because of that, I can't give it the full 5 stars. But it's a firm 4. Number 28, The Woman King. I knew almost nothing about this film going into it, and honestly, great. It's basically about an army of female warriors from the Dahomey Kingdom in West Africa during the 1800s. It's honestly a really interesting piece of history that you just don't hear about. And on top of that, it's a very entertaining action film. So, points all round. 5 stars, fuck it. Number 29, Pearl. So, you remember a little while back I told you about that film X? You know, the 70s porn star slasher one. No you don't. But believe it or not, in the same year, the director created a prequel focusing on this woman, but played by the same actress as the protagonist from the first film. Don't worry about it.
I'm a fucking star! No, I'm a star!
And you know what? It's also great. It's really interesting to see the exact same setting but 60 years beforehand. Whereas the first film felt like a tribute to 70s and 80s slasher films, this one feels a bit more Hitchcockian. Is that right? Can I say that? Is that, yeah? Like, the first film is a lot faster paced, whereas this one is much more of a slow burn drama and a lot more psychological. And you know what, guys, I have to admit, I kind of been lying to you a little bit when I said that I don't ever get scared by horror films, because the ending of this one, it got me. Because the ending of this film features the one weirdly specific thing that can actually freak me out. I'm not telling you what it is, obviously. You'll just have to watch the whole thing to find out. Then you'll know how to defeat me. Whether or not this one is better than the first is up to personal preference, as if this whole list isn't up to personal preference. But I do feel like I'm far more likely to rewatch the first one than this one, just in terms of pure entertainment value. But despite that, it's also going in 5 stars. And they've apparently already filmed part 3, which is due out this year sometime, so I'm very excited for that. Number 30, The Silent Twins. So this one might feel a little out of place compared to the rest, because this one was seen by like no one. It's the true story of a pair of British twins who refused to talk to anyone other than each other, and grew up to become fantastic writers. It's got some really cool stop motion animated segments and visual moments, and the main performances are really good. Just dropping it out there, one of the main actresses used to go to my school and I did a school play with her. One of the twins, the one who's not Black Panther. So I'm basically famous. Otherwise, this film it's not for everyone. It's a very tough film to follow, at least for me. I might just be stupid though, that's entirely possible. 3 stars. Number 31, Don't Worry Darling. Oh, what a mess. I was really looking forward to this one before release, and everything just kind of fell apart. Harry, mate, you seem like a really nice guy, but I don't think acting's for you, mate.
I gave you all of this, Alice!
The thing is, as well, before the film started, I turned to the person that I was with, and I made a joke about a twist in the film. Like, imagine if this happened, and then that exact twist happened in the film. It was so funny. Yeah, but I think the major problem with this one for me was that the central mystery of what's really going on and where they really are takes way too long to go anywhere. Like, a good mystery should feed you tidbits of information as it goes along to let you start piecing together the puzzle. But here, a bunch of unrelated weird shit happens for like 90 minutes, and then in the last 30 they just start bombarding you with information out of nowhere. The one positive I can give this film was, it felt like a movie, you know? It feels like a real, like, go to the theatre film movie. 2 stars. Number 32, Triangle of Sadness. So this was actually the latest film I've seen overall, as in I literally watched it last night, and boy am I glad I did. Triangle of Sadness is a dark comedy focusing on a pair of influencer models who take a trip on a yacht. Eventually, after a number of wild events, a load of the passengers end up shipwrecked. I don't really want to get too much into spoilers of this one, because if you haven't seen it already, you really should. But the way the hierarchy of power shifts between the passengers and the crew members, you know, even more so than the hierarchy of the DC universe, we'll get to that. With the maid becoming the leader because she's the only one with any actual survival instincts. Go watch it. One of the year's best. 5 stars. Number 33, Tar. Tar was a film I feel like I saw everyone talking about online, but no one was actually saying what the film was about. So it had this weird air of mystery about it that made me really want to watch it. But don't worry, I'll give you the gist. Basically, it's about this famous orchestral composer and how her career goes from being one of the top of her field to one of the lowest. Maybe not the lowest, but you know, it drops. Her career drops. Unfortunately, it just didn't grab me like I hoped it would. One thing I will say though, this might be like one of the best performances I've seen from anyone, like, ever. So my money's on Cate Blanchett for Best Actress. That's either going to age really well or really poorly. Come back after the Oscars and tell me. 3 stars. Sorry, it wasn't for me. Number 34, Halloween Ends. This one wins the award for Most Misleading Advertising Campaign 2022. Like, I completely understand why so many people were actively pissed off with this film. It was completely marketed as the final showdown between Michael and Laurie, the central antagonist of the series versus the central protagonist. The problem is, that's just not what the film is. At least not until the last 10 minutes. No, in fact, this film, for the most part, features a new villain, taking Michael's place, which honestly is not the worst idea. It kind of shows how, even if Michael is gone, the evil will still carry on. It's just that they should have made that clear to everyone going in. I'm guessing the studio got scared last minute, which is why the last 10 minutes basically undoes everything that the rest of the film was establishing. In general, I liked it more than most people seem to have, but I can only really justify giving it 3 stars. Unfortunately, nothing in this film is as entertaining as this scene from the previous film. Number 35, Black Adam. Black Adam. What has the DC Universe ever brought you? Nothing but heartache. The hierarchy of this tier list is about to change. Probably not, actually. Yeah, I mean, it was just, whatever. It's genuinely such a nothing film that there's not much more to say about it. And it's not like it even matters in terms of DC films anymore, now that they're apparently just completely rebooting everything. I am genuinely kind of surprised that it bombed as badly as it did, purely for the fact that the trailer was played before every single film I went to see like 6 months prior to its release. 2 stars. Number 36, The Banshees of Inisherin. This was another one that I had no real idea of what to expect, but wow, it was good. The plot is ridiculously simple. Set in Ireland in the 1920s, it's just about a guy who tells his mate that he doesn't like him anymore and doesn't want to sit with him at the pub.
I just don't like you no more.
That's basically it, and it's compelling as fuck. The escalation between the two of them is so interesting and it's genuinely hilarious. 5 stars. Number 37, Pinocchio. Again, guys, as you know, I've always loved the Pinocchio story. It's one of my favourites, so this was always going to do well with me. Literally like 2 months after the Disney remake, Netflix released its own version of the story. This time, a stop-motion animated movie directed by Guillermo del Toro. What I love about this one is how weirdly dark it all is. Like, Geppetto basically fucking hates Pinocchio for most of the film.
You're not my son!
And there's Nazis?
Model fascist youth.
But yeah, if you're going to watch one version of this story from last year, it should probably be this one. 4 stars. Number 38, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Easily the best Marvel film of the year. It's not even a contest. Obviously this one had a lot to deal with, and I think they definitely handled it in the best way they possibly could. And even then it was somehow the funniest one out of the 3 they released.
See how they teach the children to treat their guests?
This all being said, I don't really feel like it needed to be 3 hours long. I mean, no offense, but they could have cut all the Martin Freeman stuff and it would have been fine. 4 stars. Number 39, The Menu. Fuck yes. What a film. Fun fact, we actually went to go see this one in between the day and night portions of the Haunted Town video that none of you watched. If you're unaware, this film is about a load of rich people going to this fancy chef's private island for an overpriced meal. But weird shit starts going down. I don't want to give away any more than that because it's genuinely so fun to watch. It's just fun from start to finish. Go and see it. Or don't even go, it's on Disney Plus now, just watch it. 5 stars. Number 40, Bones and All. This one is definitely not for everyone. So this movie is about cannibals. 2 young lovers travel the US together, eating people. I know that kind of subject matter can make people very uncomfortable, and to be fair, the film never tries to make any of those specific moments anything other than uncomfortable for the audience. A complaint I've heard about it is that not a lot happens, which I disagree with. A lot happens, it's just a slow burn. I don't know, I quite liked it, but it's not really something I could convince someone to watch if they weren't really into the idea. Still, I'll give it 4 stars. Number 41, Strange World. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I feel like Disney is always really hit or miss when it comes to making animated sci-fis. This one is more of a tribute to classic pulp sci-fi novels from the 30s. Last time they tried something like that was John Carter, which bombed. So surely they've worked out how to make it a hit now, right? Oh no. In terms of the actual quality of the film itself, I like all the characters, and I like the father-son dynamic going on, but the actual adventure they all go on is just so uninteresting. 3 stars. Number 42, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Yes! I was a big fan of the original Knives Out. A genuinely funny and compelling whodunit. I'll admit I was a little skeptical when I heard that Netflix had bought the franchise. Like, I felt the budget might decrease and it might lose some of its uniqueness. But to my surprise, this one is probably better than the first one. At least to me. I mean, realistically, you've probably already seen it at this point. But if you haven't, I'm not going to give anything away. Just watch it. 5 stars. And speaking of films you've already seen, finally, number 43, Avatar: The Way of Water. James Cameron, you son of a bitch, you've done it again. Up until recently, I don't think I'd seen the original film, like, since it came out. And I don't remember thinking too fondly about it. But I watched it again when it got re-released in cinema, and you know what? That shit's pretty good. Was it original? No. Was it good? Yeah. And this new one? Even better. I even feel like the White Dreads guy won me over. That is an achievement. So I am very excited for the third one, called The Seed Bearer. Okay. And it's funny, as we left the theatre, I joked to the person I was with that in the first film we saw a jungle tribe, in the second we focused on a water tribe, maybe in the third one they'll go see a fire tribe and be friends with them for a bit. But they have now since come out and said that apparently that actually is what the plot of the third one is going to be. Between this and Don't Worry Darling, I must be the Nostradamus of silly movie ideas. 4 stars. And that is every film I saw in 2022. Do you guys agree with my opinions? Probably not. Are there any films that I haven't seen this past year that you would recommend? And if you end up checking out any of these films based on my recommendation, let me know what you thought. But I mean, yeah, you might hate this list. If I'm completely honest, I'm more of a TV guy than a movie guy. I don't know, do you want a 2022 TV show tier list as well? Would anyone even care? Fuck it, 50 likes in the first week of this video being out and I'll do it. Anyway, in the meantime, feel free to check out my Patreon. Someone, please. And my Twitch and second channel like I mentioned earlier. Fuck off then! What is this? Bolo.